to our this meeting. And we are really glad to have the esteemed presence of Dr. Nanda Kishor sir, who is Associate Professor at Department of Political Science and International Relations at Pondicherry University. And we are really glad that Dr. Nanda Kishor sir has been a constant, pillar of support and chief patron of Poligrad, Team Poligrad. And beyond that, Dr. Kishore sir has been a good mentor and teacher to most of the team members in Poligrad. So that's a good point to start with. And for your information, we have actually a very diverse background of students and faculties at Poligrad. So today at this evening, we are having some we are actually going to hear from Dr. Kishore sir on the scope of this international relations and some other things. We'll be listening to him. And just two lines about Poligrad. Poligrad is actually an institution, coaching institution run by vibrant, group of educators who are actively engaging in coaching students. At present, we at Poligrad, we are actually providing coachings for CUET, UG, PG, and NET JRF courses. And from the very beginning, sir has been a constant support to us for the team Poligrad. And also, what makes Poligrad different and unique is actually we have a very diverse, set of students, and we are actually focusing more on inclusivity, and people who cannot afford the coachings and who cannot get into premier institutions, we are focusing more on them, and also we are hand holding them to achieve their dreams. So I'm not prolonging my words. I'm also having some technical issue at my hand. I'm really sorry for that. So okay, so I'm not prolonging my words. So I think that's a good start. Yeah, let me call upon Dr. Nanda Kishor sir to take the mic. I welcome. Yes, sir.
Good evening to each one of you. Am I audible? Is my
Yes,
voice clear?
Yes, sir. You're audible.
At the outside, it's my pleasure to speak to all of you. And I remember when initially Poligrad came as an idea, and then subsequently I was requested to inaugurate this one. I don't know how much I deserve that, but somehow Team Poligrad felt that as a teacher, it should be the person who should inaugurate this one. So I indeed find that as an honor. At the same time, I am extremely happy. This I shared with Abu Bakr. I also shared with quite a few friends of mine how a set of youngsters, they could also think from the perspective of, let's say, how to have a startup, how to do something by themselves rather than always being dependent on someone else to give them a job. The first thing perhaps that came into my mind itself was that how entrepreneurial the students have been. Somebody could think in such a novel way that they themselves could provide jobs for others. At the same time, they also could be very closely associated with society. This particular semester, I'm teaching a course called Research Methodology, and I've taught many of you who have also been there as part of this one. One of the things that I've always said is any research that we conduct should somewhere have something to do with the society that we represent. It should have a feel for the society, or it should bring some value beyond just our own ego. A lot of things we do in life for ego purpose, but something should be beyond that one. Something should be more than that one, is an earnest feeling that I've always had. And given that in the background, if you ask me, I think Poligrad is an excellent initiative which has brought out that how you can be an entrepreneur, but at the same time, you can still be useful to society. And they were smart enough to utilize a scenario that got created in the form of, let's say, the CUET, And a lot of students were confused, a lot of students would need hand-holding, a lot of students were aspiring for central universities, to a lot of other things. I think now the scope of Poligrad is also getting expanded to net exams, net JRF, and many other things, which is, I'm really happy about it. So, first and foremost, my congratulations to Team Poligrad for having pulled off something really interesting, and also showing that this is also something that students can do if they have zeal, and if they have something innovative with them, trying to bring people from different walks of life, people from different universities. I remember, I think there are students from JNU, there are students from HCU, there are students from Pondicherry University, to many other places. I think depending on their expertise, they've been asked to do so. And I was much more glad when I saw good number of female students also, who are scholars, getting involved in teaching certain courses. That's also very, very important. Now, having said that in the background, it's a subject that's very, very dear to me, and I've been living with that for quite some time now. I don't claim extraordinary strength and extraordinary work that I've done or anything of that sort, but I've lived with this at least for more than a decade now. So I thought I'll share something. When this was proposed to me by Abu Bakr, I thought, let me do this one. I thought one session can actually be there, because one of the things that I did with their own batch is also trying to look at what are they up to once they leave from here, because a big number of them come from different parts of the country. One of the common things that they say is saying that they would want to be in UPS. That's a regular statement that we find, but as the time progresses, it can be several push and pull factors. It can be many other issues that are associated with life, due to which one might not be in a position to actually crack into it. There are some who get stuck at the level of the prelims, and then some go up till let's say even they clear the mains, and some get stuck at the level of an interview. I've seen all sorts of students. Good number of them are also civil servants as of now. But given all that, it's a gambling. That is one of the things that we regularly emphasize to a lot of students, that either you completely focus, absolutely it's required, 100% is required, but at the same time, one has to have a plan B, which is good, because you don't get stuck somewhere, and it also psychologically it doesn't affect someone. Now, coming back to the topic that's been given to me, or that I suggested that I can speak about international relations, is we can start off with the very crisis that is going on. Though I place my sincere prayers to all those who have lost life and who are going through pain in both the sides, in the Gaza as well as in Israel. But at the same time, something very, very special with regard to the the state of art when it comes to international relations is it's very fluidic. It's very, very dynamic in nature, and one needs to be updated all the time, and awareness is the key when it comes to let's say international relations. And every crisis in the international order or in the world is some sort of a fodder for student of international relations. And at times students get this particular feeling that I've got into the program, where should I be going? If you ask the same question to someone who used to teach maybe a couple of decades ago, maybe early 2000s or even prior to that one, perhaps the answer could have been either they go to UPSC or they what do you say, go into academia. This used to be the only answer. But over a period of time, it has not been the case. Over a period of time, now we see how lot and lot of students have actually taken different paths, and then the prospects for students of international relations is also widened very, very heavily. But the thing is, number of think tanks that have come in the country, number of government think tanks that are associated with international relations, and then the other jobs that you find with private firms, all of them in a consolidated form, if you look in, you may not find it in a single place. That's why the courses that when we create, or the type of papers that we teach should have that dynamism, should have something to do with the market. How much ever we resist the market forces, how much ever we say, at the end of the day, what matters is for you a job. You cannot be jobless. You cannot put up a phase of unemployment. That's why employability becomes a primordial or a prime criteria for even a success of a program. You cannot say that I will teach whatever I want to, let the students do whatever they want to. That cannot be the way. I think students come with an expectation, and I have personally believed and I have personally followed that. I ask students, what are your expectations for what you have come here? If it is that you just wanted to escape from your day-to-day life or escape from something that's been bothering you, or you just wanted to be away from your place, then I never bother about it, neither I go further into it. But otherwise, I always have asked this question, that what is the purpose for which you have come, or what is that you want to gain out of this particular program? From that perspective, and from the perspective of what the subject has to offer, I've always believed that there has to be output and there has to be outcome. So the output and outcomes also consist of employability, apart from the information that you're going to get and the type of hold that you're going to have in knowledge, and the way you critically think about what has been given to you. That might be a paper that is given from an international relations scholar, or news that has been pushed to be consumed by you. In everything there, I've said there is a method and there is also a methodology that can be used to decipher what we want and what we don't want. This is something that I've felt that has to be done by every student who's into international relations. Now, coming into, as I said, that the very crisis that is going on now itself has made this particular subject so vibrant. Often people will have opinions, no doubt about it. But they also are aware these days that only having an opinion is not enough to speak about something. So you need an amount of expertise. You need an amount of expertise, and also people are curious to know about what exactly is happening. And every now and then, for students of international relations, something or the other keeps happening. It's some time ago, we had, let's say, last 2 years, we have been witnessing the Russia-Ukraine war. In between, we had the G20. We have been having so many other events that are there. I've always said international relations as a discipline has grown with the crisis itself. First crisis was, I'm telling about the discipline that has got developed into the format in which we are studying as of now. International relations has been there from time immemorial. There's no doubt about that at all. But over a period of time, or let's say the way it got into the classrooms and a program being offered, that has been a phenomenal thing which began with a crisis, and that crisis was the First World War. First World War. Now, with the First World War, when the crisis began, was that the world was already witnessing, or heavily a set of people had pushed, that liberalism is the answer to all sorts of problems in international relations. Now, but the first thing that happened was that if liberalism was the answer and that was supposed to solve all the issues that are associated with human nature to everything, then why did the world wars happen? So it started off with something called the 20 years crisis with E.H. Carr, and then subsequently, again, we witnessed the Second World War, in which we ended up having what we call as a greater crisis that we had to go through, and also the transition of power. That's very important. The transition of power from one superpower to the other superpower, and it has always been very violent in international relations whenever this transition that has happened. Now, if crisis is our fodder and that has been used, it also simply says how important it is as a subject. On the one hand, we also study and try looking at why do nations do what they are doing, why do leaders do what they're doing, why do they indulge in something, what is it that makes them to feel that they are that they have to indulge in a war, or what does that push them to be peaceful? Both components are very, very important. And it is precisely for that reason that over a period of time, as the discipline started getting better and better with every crisis. So Second World War got over, we had the Korean War. Korean War got over, we had the globalization coming into some sort of a crisis scenario. And then subsequently, we had the 9/11, we had the Gulf War, we had so many other issues in one or the other way. The collapse of the Soviet Union was the major one. So all those scholars who wrote after the Second World War wrote saying that with the end of the Second World War, a good number of writings came in that way, and many of them indulged to just understand what made nations to get into the war. What is this particular mindset? How do they really do this one? And then later stage was all the writings used to be in the height of the Cold War, in the ongoing Cold War. That used to be the language. When the collapse of the Soviet Union happened, a series of articles were written which would simply talk about with the collapse of the Soviet Union. And then later, with the collapse of the Soviet Union got over, it became 9/11. With the 9/11 was something that was spoken. And now you will find every now and then there will be one or the other way international relations catches up. That means it updates itself. And at the same time, it also utilizes a crisis because that becomes an opportunity for the scholars or for students of international relations. Then the best way to indulge in terms of understanding international relations is keeping yourself aware, keeping yourself updated. Updation is the thing. That's why I've always said, when it comes to international relations, ignorance is not bliss. Ignorance will never be bliss. Ignorance is not pardoned at all. You have to be updated on a daily basis. Lot of things happen, new things emerge, and what has to be updated about it. And with that, perhaps it makes you a better one. In fact, I remember some time ago when an ambassador visited my department and he was talking to the students, and a crisis of this sort in the same region was spoken about, and the student got up and said, "Sir, the crisis in West Asia is emerging in so and so way. What is your take on that?" What the first answer that was given, or the first expression that was given by the ambassador was, "I think you people are in the safe hands," by simply telling that the very usage of a terminology called West Asia makes one to feel that you people have been taught international relations properly, because it's already a Eurocentric subject, and it's also heavily Western driven narratives. And along with that one, if even these small usages, we end up falling for them, because it can never be West Asia it can never be Middle East for us. It is only a West Asia component for us. That is how we have made sure that there is an amount of an India understanding that's very, very important, because we should not just be the consumers. We should consume according to our requirement. International relations have to be consumed according to our requirement, at the same time having that global implication, global output, and then global understanding. All the three are very, very important. Now, coming to, there are possibilities that universities are still very, very happy in having traditional subjects. They may want to balance. In some places, they would want to balance. So you have papers that are on, let's say, counterterrorism and international relations, or counterterrorism and geopolitics. There can be papers on India and the great powers in the Indo-Pacific. There can be papers on strategy and negotiation in international relations. There can be papers on all the new things, including climate change and environmental security. That's been the greatest and perhaps the greatest fodder that international relations scholars are as of now utilizing. But there are also other traditional papers that include theories of international relations. You have thinkers in international relations, or specific theories of geopolitics, to many other, which are very traditional subjects, and a lot of them still cling on to that also. Now, a balance is very important, because without a background, without the strength of academics, so without the strength of a theory, perhaps there is no difference between a student of international relations and a journalism student, because Someone being a journalist, they can get away. They don't need to cite a lot of things. They just need to satisfy their bosses, and they can still get away, because after all, at the end of the day, it's the person's opinion. Whereas in our case, we rely heavily, even after working for a decade or two, we still depend on some other scholars. That means it's also equally acknowledging each other's work, and that's what we do, while we cite each other's work, and then we also take forward and contribute to the body of knowledge. Now, given that sort of a scenario, you will not have a choice to demand for a very, very contemporary sort of a syllabi. The syllabus might not be according to your wish. In some places it is, in some places it is not, but it becomes your zeal to see to it that even those things that are not there, that you can get yourself prepared, and you need to be, because at the end of the day, when you go for a job or when you go out, what is very, very important is that in which way the subject that you are studying is directly contributing to the welfare of the society, or in which way it is allowing you to understand the current international relations or the world order that we are living in. If you don't have answers for that one, and yet you claim that you have been a student of international relations, perhaps that has not served the purpose. That's my humble submission at the very beginning. I also say this one for the simple reason that the person who's sitting in the interview board, whether it is a risk analyst company or in UPSC or anywhere, they'll not be asking you, tell me what happened in the Greece, what happened there, what happened here. They will not be asking that one. They'll be asking something very contemporary, but that requires an amount of in-depth knowledge, which is factually backed. And that factually backed information is going to be very, very helpful for anybody who's actually trying to be a student of international relations. Now, having said that, on the curriculum and other things which are not available, one of the ways of students doing is regularly at least reading 5 different newspapers. And I understand it's not a possibility to get hold of newspapers on many occasions, but there are so many websites, there are so many news channels, and there are so many news portals who have given free access to students, and they should be able to read that one. Apart from departments in different places providing your newspaper, the libraries providing your newspaper, this is a possibility that you need to be updated not just on one region. At least when you're in masters, you can concentrate on one of the regions or a topic that you are too keen to work on, but overall on all the situations in international relations, you have to be, you cannot walk up to and say to a teacher when they ask you a question, let's say what's happening today in Latin America, have you followed something that has happened in Madagascar? You cannot say that, no, sir, that's not my area of interest. I'm not interested about it. Perhaps that's going to be a problematic scenario. It's also going to let you down in later stages. You have to be updated on everything that is possible. This is one of the reasons why, for students of international relations at Pondicherry University, I push them to come up with something like a PUIR society, which is in a nascent stage as of now, but it has great potential. Where I've told them that before discussing other papers in the coming days or in coming months, they should also be doing either the world this week or the world this month, bringing news from all the continents. One of them can take responsibility to do that one. It hardly requires 10 minutes of presentation just to show something really happening, or something that demands an amount of attention in international relations. That's why one of the thumb rules in international relations: you cannot ignore any country, because you don't know when they become important. You don't know when they are going to what you say, have their say, in which you perhaps have no clue that it was so important that we had to study that one. So nobody imagined long ago, after the Second World War, at least till the demise of Mao Zedong, that it was so important to study China. And then there was this whole new zeal that came in, or an endeavor that came in. A lot of them, they started studying. And I have given this example numerous times. I've always said that even the smallest nations are so crucial at times. We don't realize value. If at all, if people ask me now that it's a gone case for Turkey, some time ago, Turkey used to constantly ask for its inclusion into the European Union. And the only country that was constantly saying no to it was Cyprus. Cyprus is a small country. How does it matter? But it matters when it comes to the collective. It matters when it comes to certain decisions that are made where individual countries, big or small, have a great say and have something to contribute. That is one of the reasons one has to be constantly looking at happening in different parts of the world because of the geopolitics of different happenings. You may not see the equal amount of value happening in one place, seeing the other place. So, a terrorist organization killing someone in Europe or killing someone in India might draw greater amount of attention than that of someone killing in Africa. Africa also terrorists kill hundreds and hundreds of them. It comes in a small portion, maybe of the size in the 13th or the 14th page in the Hindu. And that's a case with a lot of them. That's called the geopolitics. That's a different matter altogether. But as students of international relations, you need to equally give importance to. So it should become sort of a routine for the students in the morning to make sure that you are browsing through all these very, very important channels, all this very, very important news from different paths. Because one of the advantages that you have is 4 or 5 times if you give a hit in international, let's say in the Google about different regions, the artificial intelligence and the algorithms work in such a way automatically after some point of time it starts feeding you. Let's say once you look for news from Latin America, from tomorrow onwards, it starts giving you news on Latin America. You start looking for Africa, it starts giving you news on Africa. So even without a great effort from your side, you will have an access to do this one because the moment you open your phone, it tends to show that one. One, it listens to you. Second is also based on your search, it tends to bring those algorithms and then provides you information, which is also equally important. One of the professional platforms that I have felt has been of great help to international relations students is LinkedIn. You get to meet a lot of scholars, you get to see a lot of works, you also get to meet friends who are working in different field. And then when because it's academically so professional, you can keep filters and what you want to, what you don't want to. It's a great place of learning. I myself learn on a daily basis. There's nothing wrong in that when we get to know who are working in what and what type of things are getting published and all that thing. Now, coming to the sort of prospects, one thinks about, let's say I've already taken a master's program in international relations in so and so university, what should I be doing? The first thing that one has to do is the first semester is a tough one because you come from different setting. You come from a different bachelor's program where you've been programmed to think in a particular way. Or let's say the teachers don't really expect you to think, they just expect you to produce something asked based on the amount of mark that they're giving you 1 mark, 3 mark, 5 mark, 10 mark. They just expect you to fill in the space and do that one. When students come into the level of masters, when you're a student of master's program, you are expected to think, you are expected to critically analyze, you are expected to deconstruct. That's a very, very important component. Until and unless we learn that one, we'll only be reporting. That's very dangerous. Facts have to be facts, but apart from that, and the interpretations that have to come, which are backed by the facts, can happen only when you have this clarity of how to approach that one and what really you want to draw from that one. That's the most important factor here. So I always have said that you have to struggle in the first semester. Yes, you take time, you settle down, you get to know the place. A lot of people might even come from different disciplines. You're not even used to certain terminologies in international relations. So I've used this simple technique. I tell students when they get tensed up or when they feel lost, I tell them just don't worry. Be attentive, be alert, and allow your ears to get used to the terminologies of international relations. Once you get used to that one, after that one, it just becomes very, very normal. We have always said in the colloquial language as well, as you keep practicing, you become a better singer. As you keep cribbing every time that you're not well, you may end up becoming sick only. It also has something to do with your mind. So once you start listening to certain terminologies on a regular basis, and let's say some of your prospective students who are planning to come in the next year or 2 years down the line as well, you can constantly listen to something or the other that are available in YouTube. There are articles these days which have because of the accessibility issue, a lot of them have this audio button that you can simply press and you can listen to the article. That itself is a blessing. You can always do that when you're working on something else. That's a possibility. So take the way it comes in your first semester, and then subsequently by the second semester at least you should start figuring out that you have been studying so many different subjects. While you are studying those subjects, what actually comes close to you, or what attracts you, or what makes you feel comfortable. This is one aspect. Second aspect is you might find something very comfortable which might have been overdone by people. That is also something you need to critically think and keep in your mind. Should you take the path that's been taken by someone else, or should you think that perhaps I need to look on something that is less research? Again, it's your perspective. It is not that if you take the topic that has been already done too much that you will not have value, or something that has not been done at all that you're taking that there is a great value. There is nothing of that sort. It depends on your attitude, it depends on your orientation, it depends on what you want to derive out of that one. Either you take a comfort path or you take a path that is not so comfortable, but you want to make a name for yourself. That's also a possibility that I see for students to do this one. So you need to get a feel of something that is showing a sort of path that you want to work on. This should happen by the second semester. Once this happens in that area, you can start attempting to write smaller opinion pieces. In the initial stage, you'll be looking at several other articles that are available on the same topic, and then you try contributing, take someone as a mentor, and then try doing something. By the third semester, you should be easily be able to do all these things because you will also be doing an internship and other things. Because by the fourth semester, you will only have a dissertation, so for which you need to prepare by the third semester. In most of the universities, this is there. If they don't have the dissertation component, then they will have other papers to cater to, whatever the case is. Now, I say this one as a tip to a lot of students of international relations because they feel lost at the end of the program, that now where do I go? How I should become employable? Why am I not employable enough? Why am I not confident that I can apply for a job and they just accept? Something that you need to introspect when you're doing this one is what is there in your CV? What have you done other than your 10th, 12th, and your graduation? What is there that you can show? And no person who is going to employ you is interested in your hobby of singing, dancing, painting, and all this. Nobody's interested. Let me be very, very black and white about it. It might hurt someone, but that's the truth. As a student, as a student of politics, also as a student of let's say as someone who's teaching this subject, I always felt that even when I'm employing someone, for me that makes no sense. Your hobbies don't make sense to me. But apart from that, what else you have done? Have you written some term papers? Have you been constantly following something which is coming in the form of an outcome? Let's say that you are able to contribute constantly on that one, that I see an expertise in you, or all those things. That's where I've said there is something called as the Google space that all of you should use, where by writing these opinion pieces, there are so many forums that are available. Once you start doing that one, because at this level, even if you write a big article, very rarely students get a chance to publish them. Some of them are absolutely brilliant ones, they're able to do that one, but good number of them, just because they're in masters, they get rejected. In such scenario, it is always good to write these small opinion pieces and constantly see to it that you're publishing on a regular basis and you have your CV getting built. And let's say 5 students or 10 students from Pondicherry University are applying for the same job. How are you different in it? Let's say I'm the one who's sitting there in the selection committee that you're coming in. All of you have been trained by same teachers. All of you have been plus or minus that way, this way, have been having same sort of let's say aptitude, and all of you are able to answer the questions in the same way. how would I find you more interesting, or I find you that, or I see that you are the one who's suitable for the position that I'm offering. That is when perhaps I look at what else you have done other than the regular way the students have done. That's why make sure that you build interest in an area and also start writing something about it and build your own CV. It is useful for you only. It fetches you a job. Looking at where are the jobs, the prospects that are available. This is the third part of the topic that has been given to me. As I mentioned to you, in the last 2 decades, we have had so many NGOs that have come in, so many think tanks have come in, think tanks including the government one, think tanks that are associated with the private firms. But at the same time, there are also risk analyst companies. For risk analysis companies, you require analytical skills. That's why I said you have to write. How do you get analytical skills? If I give you a paragraph or a prose, how would you analyze that one? What is your contribution? How well you're able to read between the lines? How are you able to decipher what has been there in that particular text? That is called as the analytical skill. So they give you a scenario. Let's say there are so many agencies. There are so many private firms that I remember. There's something from Israel called as Max. There is HS James from the UK, and there are so many corporate companies. I have a student who worked in Africa, and then subsequently she worked in a couple of places. Today she is placed in one of the organizations where she earns more than me. That's a sort of profile some of the students have, and good number of students have also moved into several other places where if you are worth or if you show your worth after being a student from a particular place and you show some analytical skills, you are even absorbed even for internships to everything. I think there is Abhishek Kumar who's there in this particular conversation as well. He went from here and then he applied for ICW. This is the first year. So many students from Pondicherry University applied. And there were so many people who came from all the premier institutions, that includes JNU, that includes Delhi, that includes Manipal, that includes Pune, to so many places. Yet, Pondicherry University student from the Department of Politics and International Relations who did a dissertation on international relations, who did a master's in international relations, got into a paid internship. How did he get into that one? How did we make a mark? How did we change the trajectory from what it was to what it is today? That is only because analytically you start becoming better and better. For that, you also have to be open minded. Let's say a mentor deconstructs your work or destroys your work and says, this is not up to mark. This is not good enough. And but if you are capable of taking criticism, that's perhaps the first indication that you will be employable. You will get somewhere or the other. So that's why, as I said, you also have MidCat, you also have IHS James, you have Max. There are so many other Indians or Indian think tanks also. You have Grid 91 to so many organizations. Even these days, news agencies are using students from politics and international relations. That's a sort of value that it has brought in. Even news channels, the visual communication channels, to so many of them are utilizing a lot of them because of certain newer things that have come in. If you, let's say, you had concentrated well and then you were able to crack JRF or net, you also have the possibility to get into teaching. You also have the possibility to get into what you say, the research part of it. So apart from these agencies that I mentioned, there is ICWA, there is what you say, IDSA, MPIDSA, there is NMF, there is also Institute of Chinese Studies, there is Center for Air Power Studies, National Maritime Foundation, Center for Land Warfare Studies. There are numerous think tanks and so many openings are there. Even today, I saw Ananta Aspen has opening. NMF has opening. There are so many agencies that have opening. What I'm trying to simply say is that if you are able to make a mark moving beyond your comfort zone, there is nothing that can stop you from getting a job. I'm telling you, whether it is a teaching job. I also have another student by name Sudhanshu. He got in to Jain University, Jain College in Bangalore to teach. And there are others who are doing, as I mentioned in the beginning itself, some of you have already become entrepreneurs and you're doing something differently. But there are so many students. A student of us called Rahul, he has got into max security solutions, and these days engineers don't get the type of money that he's getting. He's getting 40K, and is working from home. You know, there are so many other students as well. It just simply requires you to move beyond your zone, get yourself updated, and the one who's going to, in this world where globalization is the key, where the private sector is so powerful, or even for that matter the government sector, apart from all that talk that regularly comes of having a godfather, having someone's blessings and all these, those are all secondary things. If you don't have stuff, you cannot survive in any of these places. For that, you need to be updated, you need to be above the average, you need to grow up to that one, and you need to put an extra effort into the program that you're studying in international relations. From that perspective, there are so many options. ORF has been observing people, Minister of External Affairs is observing people, and I myself have sent so many students to so many institutions for internship itself. If you do internship well, they themselves will absorb you. So there are possibilities of you getting absorbed to so many places apart from the traditional way of getting into UPSC, which is a very, very tough scenario. But I'm not here to discourage people. Always keep an option B. You should be able to fit into, because from Kerala to Kashmir, there are organizations from Gujarat to Northeast. There are institutions that are absorbing think tanks, risk analyst companies, to everybody who's absorbing students of international relations. G20 was a huge opportunity for students of international relations. There were so many different groupings that came in, which directly took lot of students of international relations. In fact, international relations students were in big time demand. So it's a possibility. That is, I'm trying to tell you, need to keep your mind much more open about it, much more focused about certain things that you are trying to do, and then carve a niche. You need to carve your own space in international relations. Until and unless you do that, when you become part of the crowd. If you want to stand out from the crowd, then you need to make a mark. For that, you require a different approach. It doesn't work with the normal classroom approach where you just come, listen to the lectures, just after that one write an exam, get your credit and get away. With that, masters will also get over. What after masters? That is much more important. That's why I told you output and outcome are very, very important for me. If you're not employable, that means it's my failure as a teacher. It's also something that I haven't done well. Perhaps there's other resistance. If somebody doesn't want to do anything at all, and they've decided that I would want to be this way, that nobody can help. Otherwise, if somebody is keen and somebody is really interested to do something, and yet the person is struggling, then perhaps I find the blame in myself that I haven't trained the student that way. So your employability is a direct reflection of a growth of an institution, growth of a program, and the culmination of the efforts that are put together by the teachers. So it's as simple as that. As I said, one, choosing right type of a program, that is very, very important. More than the program, at times it also becomes the type of teachers that are who are there in that particular institution. What is the value addition that particular institution has, apart from your other concerns of, let's say, financial constraints to stay, to many other things, climatic conditions, to many other things can be there. But these are peripheral. But what I'm trying to say is fundamental, where you need to look at the institution, the caliber of the institution, credibility of those teachers who are there, who can deliver what you require. Apart from that one, your own effort, where you're able to go beyond. Because the orientation of teachers differs from place to place. There are places where they expect you to take first step, and they expect you to take initiatives and then do something else. But if you're unable to do that one, they will also not be bothered about. Nobody wants to take an extra burden or an extra work on themselves. So it is your responsibility that if you're studying in public institutions or in private institutions, public institutions, it's public money. In private institutions, it's your own money. So both the places you have legitimacy to ask them why they are unable to teach to in that particular way. So apart from that, there are so many other things that are available as part of the institutions. I think you should all utilize. So It's starting from the type of curriculum and the institution that you choose, from there to what is expected of you in the program, and to the last, choosing the right place or applying early to places. Apart from some of the students are regularly they've been asking for going abroad and studying in other institutions. So a year prior to your program, you should start working for that one. You should start looking for fellowships. You should start looking for a program, because without fellowship, perhaps to big number of students, it's very difficult to survive in Western universities if you're going for higher studies. But apart from that one, to survive, to make a living, I don't think it's a big issue if you are just a bit cut above the regular and you're able to move out of your comfort zone. With those words, perhaps I'll stop here. I'll take questions as and when. Feel free to ask whatever type of questions that you require. I don't mind answering here. Yeah, Abhishek.
Sir,
Abhishek,
am I audible?
you are.
Good evening, sir. Always a great experience to listen to you. So, two things that I wanted to say. One is sharing a small experience with all the members who have joined, and one is a question. Sharing the experience first, as you mentioned that you need to keep a check on the entire world, what is going around. Every big and small country is of great importance. Sharing the experience, sir. And recently in ICWA conducted this small talk, and the country was the Dominion Republic. It's a small country in the Caribbean, and the vice president of that country, Rachel Pena, came, and I was shocked to look at the amount of audience that had come, from media officials to ambassadors and to other people who have joined to come and listen to what Dominican Republic had to say. So definitely the relevance of small countries, I would say, is of great importance, at least for India, and especially in the Latin American and the African region. And one question from my side, sir, is like you mentioned, to again to look at the entire world. But sir, the approach in which we the PhD students approach for a particular topic, it's like very one-pointed, very regimented. Like you just have to be focusing on one particular thing. Don't you think these things are too contradictory to each other? And at times how does question is how does one balances the two? Thank you, sir.
Okay. Should we take a set of questions or should I start answering right away? The organizers, Abdul is there, or
Yes, sir. We can have actually both. If there are questions you can take, I mean, you can
I'll
respond.
just try answering. If somebody wants to ask a question,
Yes.
they can as well do that one. Yeah, the question that I come to specifically, apart from the comment that you made, on the question, yes, it is. As we start moving in the direction of research, it always happens that you start becoming narrow and narrow. But that narrowness can come only when you have the greater knowledge that you gain in your master's level, where you have understood international relations as a whole. Because let's say I want to work on China, I cannot work on China without knowing what is the take from United States. I cannot understand what is the take by Chinese, the Africans. I cannot understand what is the take by the Russians. So for that, one has to be open. It is only in the later stage that you start becoming much more narrower, and you, because you want to concentratedly write something that will help someone else to understand a particular region or a topic in a more concentrated way. So that is how the life is. That's why in your bachelor's you have more number of students. By the time you come to masters, it becomes lesser. By the time in between there is to be a program called MPhil, that would shrink it much further. When you come to PhD, you almost become lonely. That is what happens because you start missing people. But the truth is also that it is like the maturity level. When you start off with lot many things, and then slowly for everything and anything, and you are reacting, and then over a period of time, you gain an amount of maturity where you respond to something. So for me, research is more like a response at the PhD level, where you have understood a particular thing holistically for a while now, and from that you want to come out with a research gap, and you want to fulfill to what is been left out partially by other scholars who have already worked. So for me, it's very important because when I look for something, I look for the specificity, and that specificity is filled by the PhD or the research program. So from that perspective, I don't find it contradictory. Um, because in your bachelor's or in your master's, you study so many things, but it's only in the later stage. In the master's itself, it cannot be that all the number of papers that you have, every paper cannot be on the same one. That way, it cannot be an overdose of China, it cannot be an overdose of United States, it cannot be an overdose of some other country, XYZ, whatever that is. So that's my submission.
Thank you so much, sir.
Megha?
Yeah, sir. Okay, it was a typing error. So, my name is Meghna, sir. We have met in the department. I'm from South Asian Studies. I just
Go ahead.
graduated, like finished my
Go ahead.
PG a few months ago. Sir, so my question is, right now you spoke about how you are supposed to know about the entirety of the world, or at least have an idea about what is happening in each country or in each region. But
Mhm.
sir, right now I'm facing this obstacle, which is like a very personal issue. That is, I specialized in a regions specialization, which is like the South Asian studies for my master's.
Hmm.
Now, when people, be it in terms of employment or be in terms of having knowledge, uh, I miss that opportunity of not knowing things that are happening around the world. So, which means I sort of regret taking up the course because I don't have a comprehensive understanding of the world, which you can, I think, which I believe you can only learn if you have a international relations experience or degree, master's in international relations. So, this is one regret that I have at this point. So, my question is, do you suggest to a person me like me who's thinking that way, like, do I need to do another master's degree in international relations if I have an interest, because this region wise study or specialization has not helped me much. So what do you suggest, sir?
I understand your point. We have discussed maybe other things, but not this particular one whenever we met. I still see in the program that there was something on international relations, series of international relations. There were also few other things. In fact, in area studies, you cannot just only study your area so much in isolation that you don't know anything else. That is not the right way of doing area studies. The idea of doing area studies is very simple, where you get a next level expertise on your area. That includes, because the area studies is little different from the way we study in geopolitics or the way we study in the pure IR part of it, because it has branched out from that one only as a component, but it encompasses so many things, including that of knowing the culture, the civilization, the food. There are other part of the components which we call as a larger entity of so the larger entity of what we call as a particular component called as culture. Now, to me, when I'm doing or when I'm teaching theories of international relations, invariably I am expected to teach my students wide range of things by giving examples from all over the world. That's the first part of it. Second part of it, which you mentioned as a lacuna that you are going through now, as I said, that you cannot study a region in isolation. Everything has to be, if a good teacher, the good teacher will give you ample number of examples. Without examples, all these concepts or theories of international relations are of no use at all because it doesn't serve the purpose. Because what do you do with an international relations if you are asked a scenario in a scenario that now use the same into something else? If you are unable to use, that means I haven't trained you better. So from that perspective, I feel that the regret that you're going through or the feel that you're going through is because it was also restricted and kept it in that way that something had to be filled into a program and then certain things have been taught. That might have been a feel that you have got. I would suggest that if you are keen, then you can do a master's again. But there will be certain things that will be repetitive. But you will have an edge over other students. Only thing is, if you have that freedom to use your time, freedom to, or you have a zeal to learn, then nothing should stop you. You can still do a master's program, but how much worth it is also something that you need to think. I can understand your perspective absolutely, that you're feeling bit out of place, and you're also feeling that something is not complete, it doesn't look like a full meal, and there here certain things which are missing. I know, but I don't know, that sort of a scenario that you are going through, which you can even fulfill by let's say taking someone as a mentor, or trying to look at certain videos and other things, and you can fill into that one. One of the things that I tell students when they join for a program of international relations is one beginning book that they have to do is the world since the First World War, or the world since the Second World War, or something to do with the history. A concise history, world history is something that they need to take up, which will clear a lot of things that has been taught again and again in a repetitive manner, which is a possibility. I would suggest that if you have pleasure of time, you can do it. I don't mind. Otherwise, I don't think you should push yourself. What if the same thing also puts you into the corner, or pushes you into the same scenario? What we will do? That is the problem that I'm seeing. Because what is the guarantee that it doesn't disappoint? That's a problem that I face here. Well, I am told by the organizers that we are running short of time. Sony, can you please quickly ask your question?
Yes, sir.
And at the same
Uh,
time, Meghna, you can always get in touch with me. You have access to me. Yeah, Sony, please.
yeah. So, sir, I'm in my first years doing my master's in politics and international relations. And as you told that we have to look the world in entirety, connecting all the different dots or all the different regions, what is happening, connecting the news that is happening. But as a master, as a first year student, what problem I am facing is for understanding what is happening currently in the world, I have to look at the history. And the history is so much Eurocentric that I do not get perspectives of different theorists who come from other background which are non-Western. So my question is, what are the sources, legitimate sources to look at the history from a non-European centric view or a non-Western view?
Yeah, this is a genuine question that a lot of them keep asking me. But the thing is also, as a subject, international relations is still a very, very Western centric program. You go to any part of the world, that's how they teach. But nevertheless, at the same time, what I would say is that instead of discounting that completely, you should still read that. But apart from that one, try looking at non-Western IR theories and history of Asia, let's say, or history of some other place. You try looking continent-wise, something more than what has been given to you will be available. It's not that it is only available at that level, because that's an easy availability that you're trying to look at. There are other things that are available. But the thing is, most of the master students in their first year, what they find problematic is that the number of classes that they need to attend and understand what is going on there, and also the expectation of a teacher or someone like me who tells things that read that, read this. How do we really find that time? Now that's a challenge, no doubt about it. That's why I told you that if you are not driven by a particular amount of passion when you're coming to a program, you will not be able to make a mark. But once you read this and come into a discussion or a classroom discussion or any sort of open discussion, the amount of confidence that you will have in terms of answering to everything will make you feel extremely proud of yourself. It will give you a different type of confidence. So I would suggest that you please read what has been there already as a Western written or Western driven or Eurocentric, whatever we call it. It is also equally important. But also try looking at sources that are available from, let's say, from the continent's perspective. Each continent you can try to look at, and they have their own history. You can look at the Japanese history, a brief history. You don't need to go through hundreds and hundreds of pages. A brief history of everything, an introduction to Japanese history, introduction to Chinese history, introduction to Indian history. Everything you can at least get a feel of an introduction. That's very, very important as a student of international relations. If you can spare time, nothing like it in a day, at least you can do two. You can do two countries easily. I'm telling you, that basic that you require in terms of history, which is filled from their side. There are always this problem that Westerners writing something and then that's being used elsewhere. But there are other sources that are also available which you can look in. But you need to go beyond what has been given. You need to go beyond that is not available, this is not available. You have to look for it. You need to search for it. For sure you will find. And it's not very, very difficult in the era when Professor Google has most of the answers. But you also need to be having that understanding of what to consume, what not to consume, even on Google. That's a different issue. I hope I answered you, Sony. Noful,
Good evening, sir. Thank you for the session. Actually, I am going straight away to my question. My question is just I'm now facing an issue that I couldn't able to get into my research gap or research question actually, because there are a number of things which I don't know that is actually in reality. It's okay, but still, whenever I don't know, I can just Google it and I can get the answer of it itself, even in media or whatever it is, even in all other perspectives. What perspective I need, even it is Western perspective or Eastern perspective or Indian perspective, or even if it is in related to any religion itself, I can find everything in the Google or in the available market of knowledge and research. So help me to find out the gap in between.
see, the gap can come only when you read concentratedly the number of literature that are available on a particular topic. In a novel way, you need to think little out of the box. Straight away, you will certainly not get a gap. And there is no guarantee also. That's one of the reasons why I tell students not to write. In so and so, something is not written. I always say modestly, we need to write limited works have been written. Because we don't know in that particular language whether it is written in a region that is written, whether it might be there on Google or it might not be there on Google. So doing a vast literature survey is the only way in which you need to innovatively think where are you able to identify a gap and where you can actually fit into something where you can contribute to the research, which we will certainly talk further. Let's not trouble the organizers. Abdul, are you there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Don't worry if the time is running short. Just
Yeah.
don't worry about thanking or anything. I'm okay with this. It's a
Yeah.
student
No
organization.
issues, sir. You can carry
There
on.
are no such this thing. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Leave my number and email to the students so that they can get in touch with me even after this one. Good number of them are our students as well. Doesn't matter. We'll do that. Yeah. Take care.
Sure.
I'll see you people.
Yeah.
Bye.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. From Polygrad, actually, we deeply register our gratitude and thanks to you, sir, and all other participants in the meeting, and for making this meeting such a wonderful session for all of us. And for there are a lot of takeaways from our session, today's session, actually, within such a short time. So you have actually delivered it very comprehensively. I mean, for a student of international relation or somebody who is interested in international relation, it's not only academia or UPSC. There are something much beyond that. So that was a good, I mean, takeaway from today's session. But most importantly, considering the very dynamic nature of the international relation, the subject, we have to be up to date, and we always need to be up to date. So that was a kind words from you, sir. And also, we are really sorry for today's actually time crunch. So we'll be really glad to have a one or more other session in the days to come. Students, even the faculties at Poligrad, actually, they are having PhDs from JNU, Pondicherry University, Delhi University, and even other institution of national and international importance. And we'll be really glad and to have your support and your constant patronage from you, sir. And we are really happy, and we are once again registering our gratitude to you, sir, and to all other participants in tonight's meeting. So once again, we are registering our thanks. We are once again okay with these words. So we are coming to an end. Let's wind up tonight's session.
No
We
problem.
will be
God
meeting.
bless all of you. Do well. And anytime I'm there for Polygrad. It's after all our students' initiative, and more power to all of you. Do well, and God bless all of you. Take care. Bye.
you so much, sir. Good night.
Night. Bye.
Thank you, sir. Good night.
Bye. 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 Good night.